Hi everybody, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm here for round 2 of a Modern Friendly League. Let's go ahead and look at the opening hand. I won the die roll and I chose to play first. This opening hand is solid. We're on the play and we've got 2 Aether Vials, so even if we don't hit a land, with the other 4 cards being creatures, we're going to be able to get them out with our 2 Aether Vials. So easy keep for me. And see, the opponent mulliganed to 6 and then mulliganed to 5. Yuck. Kept the hand and kept the card on top, so at least he liked his scry. Okay, we're going to open with Aether Vial and pass over. So we see Overgrown Tomb going down to 17, and what's happening? Noble Hierarch. So Noble Hierarch potentially representing, I guess, Abzan. That's backed up by the fact that they have a Marsh Flats over here. So I think that was probably it for that turn. For our turn, we'll put Aether Vial onto 1. I drew a Spreading Seas, which is great in the matchup, but with no second land, we can't play that right now. So just easy choice to play out the second Aether Vial and pass to the opponent. Abzan plays Lingering Souls, so Cursecatcher potentially useful right now if the opponent tries to turn 2 Lingering Souls. Looks like they might be light on lands. Let's see, Grim Flare. Oh, but they have a Shambling Vent, enters tapped. So on their end step, I'll bring in my Cursecatcher and go ahead to my upkeep. Both Aether Vials will get counters. And I drew into a second land. Very timely. So I'm going to hit their Shambling Vents. Kind of, they're going to have access to black no matter what, and they have access to green or white through Noble Hierarch. So hitting the man land seemed like an obvious choice to me. I drew a Vapor Snag, nice piece of interaction. We're going to be able to get our creatures onto the table using Aether Vials, so we'll have access to blue mana for this when we need it. But with Island Walk established, we can start pushing damage sooner rather than later. So that Mutavault was a great draw because it facilitates these early attacks with Cursecatcher. Opponent's already down to 15, plays a Marsh Flats, cracks it, gets an untapped Temple Garden, hitting his life total really hard. The opponent's going to attack with Grim Flare, and I'm not really that interested in blocking, especially since he has an Exalted trigger from Noble Hierarch. So during the match, the guy actually took a long time thinking about his Grim Flare sorting at the top of the deck. It took like half a minute or something like that, maybe more. But he kept them all on top, didn't put any in the graveyard, I think. And I think let's see, does he play anything out here? Nile Spellbomb, potentially a nod, I guess, to Dredge in the format. But not very threatening at all against Merfolk. Just gets to cycle that, basically. And he passes the turn. So we're going to take both of these Aether Vials up. 3 will get us closer to Master of Waves, and 2 will get us on the second Lord of Atlantis. Drew into a Reejerey, which makes this Aether Vial that much more efficient. Decided not to attack with Mutavault this turn. We've got quite a clock as it is. Gonna swing with both of these guys, see if he wants to block with the Noble Hierarch. I can't imagine he does. But before damage, we'll go ahead and put in 1 or 2 of these lords. We're gonna see how the opponent reacts though first. Goes for Path to Exile on my lord. Now he's running out of cards. He's only got 1 more left in hand. So I feel like at this point, Vapor Snagging my Master of the Pearl Trident would be good because I can put him back into play with Aether Vial, keep the Cursecatcher buffed, not give away any other information that I have another Lord in hand, and bring him in the following turn. So I go ahead and do that, actually. This Grim Flare is not that threatening. Even though it gives him good card selection on the top of his deck, it's a super slow clock against a ton of pressure that we're presenting. So I think it's better for me to have an extra Lord in hand. So he lets me Vapor Snag this guy, and I'm just going to put him back into play. So we do want to use the ability. I'm going to put him into play, and at this point, after the opponent plays out his last card, it was an Abrupt Decay for my Island Walk Lord. So with the opponent empty-handed, easy choice just to bring in Merrow Reejerey and get an extra point of damage with Cursecatcher and set ourselves up for a pretty explosive turn next. The opponent pays for Nihil Spellbomb and is going to draw a card. So he had the card for the turn, which I guess could have been Twilight Mire, and then he's got one more card in hand now. He's going to go past the Merrow Reejerey. I get a land, not the end of the world. We've still got a lot of pressure. The opponent is empty-handed. Swings with the Grim Flare. No blocks. It takes a ton of time again. Looking at the top of his deck. He did put, I think, a couple of things in the graveyard this time. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe he likes everything on the top. Now let's just double check. This guy's ability says, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put any number of them in your graveyard, and the rest on the top of your library in any order. I wonder if this guy doesn't even know that he can put things in the graveyard. It's kind of weird that he got to activate twice and chose to put 0 cards in the graveyard. Currently, Delirium is not online. Only has land, instant, and artifact. So being empty-handed, just pass the turn. We are going to use the first AEther Vial's ability and pass on the second one. Drew a Cursecatcher. It's a great draw. It's more pressure. So I'll open with the Cursecatcher. Bring in... Now again, the opponent's empty-handed, so I don't have to be particularly tricky about what I'm doing. I'm going to wait on Master of Waves, obviously. He's not really changing the math this turn. I'm going to swing for 3, 2, and 2. So 7. Master of Waves would add 1 more to that, but... Sorry, that went really fast. Gotta be careful with these buttons here. I activated Mutavault and swung. It's not for 7 because this one had Summoning Sickness, but just for 3 and 2 for 5. Threatening easy lethal next turn, especially after we bring in the Master of Waves. So now the idea with Master of Waves is if the opponent has removal and he goes for the Island Walk Lord, in response we can bring in the Master of Waves and get a ton of tokens. But the opponent just scooped there. So we took game 1. Unfortunately, the opponent had mulliganed to 5, so not as balanced a match as it could have been. But we'll see how game 2 went. Open up the chat. Adjust it a little bit so we can see the history. And take a look at the opening hands. So 5 lands, but one of them being Mutavault, one of them being Vapor Snag. I'm pretty sure I mulligan this one. This is an interestingly symmetrical hand, actually. We have 2 blue cards, then Island, Island, Cavern, Cavern, and Mutavault in the middle. Pretty sure that I mulligan this. Actually, you know what? I think since it was against a grindy deck, Mutavault plays around board wipes. I'm not quite sure about this hand. I think that I mulliganed it. So he kept... And okay, I mulliganed, and it was the correct decision. Against grindy decks, you tend a little more than against other decks to keep, just so you don't lose card advantage right off the bat. But that was a really poor hand. So this is much, much better. We kept, and I think that we scryed like a Merrow Reejerey or something. Tidebinder Mage. That's even better in the matchup. So there's that Tidebinder. Opponent played and didn't crack a Verdant Catacombs. So open with Island Cursecatcher. Easy choice. Opponent's just going to respond by getting a tapped Shockland. Blooming Marsh into big powerful Tarmogoyf. Drew a land, and so we'll run out Tidebinder here. Just stay on the front foot. Tap down the Lurgoyf and swing for 1. Opponent's at 18, plays a Marsh Flats, goes down to 17. Plays a Godless Shrine, goes down to 15. And Kitchen Finks, that second Tidebinder Mage, going to come in handy here. Drew another land. Not the best, but not terrible at this point. We don't have AEther Vial, so 4 lands is okay. Another Tidebinder Mage locks down the Kitchen Finks. That's going to let us swing for 3. The opponent's going to be all down to 13 already. And with an Island Walk Lord waiting, potentially pushing a lot of damage next turn with Mutavault. So 3, 3, 3, and 2, that's 11. The opponent played a tapped Overgrown Tomb. and Liliana, the Last Hope. Now, this card is typically kind of a joke against Merfolk. Our creatures almost always have more than one toughness, so her +1 ability is never really removal. Unfortunately, we see in this case it is. Cursecatcher is going to, well, he can choose to kill a Cursecatcher. The other ability puts the top 2 cards of the library in the graveyard. You can return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Right now he doesn't have any creatures in the graveyard, so that's also a -2 for a little bit of potential card advantage. The -7 is a little bit nuts. It's like you get a lot of zombies each turn. So pretty sure when that resolves, he's going to just kill a Cursecatcher. So Cursecatcher down. So I had a choice here. I played a land. I had a choice of just attacking Liliana. Like, playing a Lord seems easy enough here, right? We haven't seen any board wipes, so I can play the Lord and just kill Liliana, or at least, you know, tick her down a little bit. But I think I got greedy. I'm going to activate Mutavault. The opponent's at 14. Even if he has some sweet removal next turn, we're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on him for lethal next turn. So I decide, again, thinking that Liliana's kind of a joke, and you can see with this board state, she kind of is. Like, she can't kill anything. So the opponent is going to take 9, all the way down to 5. But we get punished, actually, really, really, really hard. Because Damnation wipes away our board, and he gets a Kitchen Finks as a blocker. And he gains 2 life off of the stupid Kitchen Finks. So he's up to 7. Island Walk nowhere in sight. Liliana ticking up towards all the zombies. So I drew a Silvergill. At least I can cast it and reveal the other one. So I drew another land. That's pretty terrible. Can't cast the other Silvergill. This Liliana can kill this Silvergill. So she's looking pretty good actually right now. Opponent plays a Hierarch. Doesn't attack for some reason. I think it's pretty slow actually to not attack there. Kira, I mean, we can play out a Silvergill, I guess. But Kira protects our creatures for future turns. So maybe it's best to play out the Kira here. So Liliana actually minuses, and that breaks the Kira shield. So if the opponent wants to kill her, he can do so. Liliana is actually looking pretty good in this matchup. And it shows that if given the opportunity against sort of an opponent utterly on the back foot, we should usually, unless we're killing them right away, should usually take them off their Planeswalkers, because Planeswalkers are a huge source of sort of virtual card advantage. They get to keep killing my creatures each turn. So even though with a single Lord, she's really bad against us, against an empty board, she's pretty good. So there's Collective Brutality, deals with Kira, and the opponent's really set on getting this ultimate going, so good on him, I guess, for being patient and not attacking. Spreading Seas, slow. I get to draw a card, though, I guess. Not drawing anything, though. Like, what am I going to hit? Another land. It's garbage. Already played my land for the turn. Can't play that 5th untapped land to cast the Silvergill Adept. Liliana is going to be able to ultimate now. So she does. On the end step, she gets 2 zombies. I drew another Spreading Seas. Hit a Blooming Marsh. Draw into a Harbinger. Can slow down some zombies, I guess. But I can cast Silvergill now and reveal the Harbinger. Draw another card. A Relic is interesting. I can actually play that. There are certainly ways we can claw back into this game. If I draw Island Walk Lords and Master of Waves, then I can just battle through all of this garbage. So, not totally feeling defeated yet. Another Liliana is going to make me sacrifice something. I'm going to sacrifice my Mutavault. I've got more than enough lands. I want the devotion from Silvergill Adept. So sack the Mutavault. Opponent gonna attack with just one zombie with Exalted. Gonna take 3 and go down to 15. Okay, end step he gets 2 zombies plus the number of zombies he controlled already, so he gets 4 more zombies. Getting out of hand. We still have live draws though. I'm gonna crack the Relic on the end step. I think I drew a Silvergill off of that. So I get to cast another Silvergill, reveal the Harbinger again. Drew a land for the turn. Vapor Snag is pretty low impact at this point. I get to cast Harbinger and bounce that one silly zombie that's tapped. And at this point, we're running out of time. Opponent is engineered explosives on 2. That's pretty fantastic. He's got 2 3-drops and a 1-drop. He can wipe away 2 Spreading Seas and 3 creatures. So I think he's going with that plan right now. Like, doesn't have to sit back at all. I'm gonna Vapor Snag my Silvergill Adept. It's a drop in the bucket, but he paths the Silvergill Adept. It's so brutal. I get an island. And at this point, when the Spreading Seas bite the dust, I just realize the game is over. So attack, 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 and I scoop. So really stupid not attacking the Liliana when I could have. I didn't even need to play the Lord to deal with her. I could have attacked her with the 2 Tidebinders, gotten 2 damage with the Mutavault. If he spent the Damnation wiping away the 2 Tidebinders, which he probably would have, I would have had plenty of follow-up plays. So lessons to be learned from that game. Let's go ahead and see how Game 3 went. Open up the chat, do our little adjustment, and look at the opening hands. So I'm going to be on the play. Excellent hand against Abzan. Really fortunate to draw such a nice opening hand. The opponent kept as well, so hopefully it's going to be a nice, interesting game. No 1-drop, so island and go. Opponent plays a Marsh Flats and passes. I drew a 4th land. We're going to want to not draw many more lands after this. With Marsh Flats on the board, Spreading Seas is kind of a no-go, so easy choice to play Silvergill Adept, reveal the Master of Waves. Opponent's going to get his tapped shock land right now. That's the timing he seems to prefer. I drew another land, but it's a Mutavault combo with Master of Waves, so not terrible. Opponent played an Overgrown Tomb, going down to 17. And we play a Grim Flayer, so looking a little bit like the first game. Island Walk Lord is excellent after drawing a couple of running lands. Play the Mutavault, and then I think I'm going to Spreading Seas one of these lands. Get Island Walk going, keep drawing cards. Drew a Relic, which is nice against Grim Flayer. It also, just uses our mana really well this turn. Now, I thought about attacking this turn. Ultimately decided against it. We've got a Master of Waves. I want to develop some Devotion. I don't know if he would have blocked. I kind of doubt it. And I was at the time considering trading with his Grim Flayer. We do have some Devotion with Spreading Seas. We've got an Island Walk Lord, but looked like the opponent might be short on lands. He took away our Lord of Atlantis with an Inquisition of Kozilek. This guy's almost definitely going to remain a 2-2 for the whole game since I've got Relic of Progenitus. Plays a tapped Godless Shrine, goes to attacks. And in the end, I think I decided not to block. I was going to get to look at the top 3 cards. Puts a Windswept Heath and then a Forest from among the top 3 into the graveyard. So the opponent does know about that ability. Passes to me. We drew a Kira. Now, normally, I would just run the Kira out. But with Relic on the board, Spreading Seas in hand, us being on the play, I really like Spreading Seas. We saw the Damnation last game, so Kira could just get wiped away. Spreading Seas seems a little bit more robust. So going to play the Wanderwine Hub, reveal the Master of Waves that the opponent already knew about. Start by making him exile something with Relic of Progenitus. Exile the Forest. Going to now cast the Spreading Seas, taking him off of green if he doesn't have another land. Drew a Reejerey, so that's more gas. We've got another land in hand. We're going to be able to play some stuff out next turn. But for this turn, I think it's just time to activate Mutavault and attack. Opponent's at 17. We're definitely winning this race. Mutavault plays around Damnation nicely. Opponent has green, has to play that out untapped, going down to 11 because I took him off of his other green sources. Opponent going to attack again, really wants to look at those top cards, sort them the best he can. I think this turn, yeah, he just kept all three on the top. So he has a Tarmogoyf. We drew into a 6th land. Not great, but we've got some expensive cards in hand. Now I get to try a trick against this guy that an experienced opponent would simply not allow. Play a land, go to combat. I'm going to swing with the Silvergill Adept. He thinks, whatever, I'm going to block with the Tarmogoyf. What kind of trick can he have? Maybe he's going to Vapor Snag my Tarmogoyf or something, but come on, man, I've got the Relic of Progenitus on the board. So he chooses blocks. I'm going to exile my Relic now. Tarmogoyf is a 0/1, and he's going to die to my Silvergill Adept. And the Silvergill Adept lives to tell the story. So at this point, I'm going to play the Harbinger, bounce his Grimflayer. The opponent only has 2 colored mana, so he's really slowed down. If he does have black mana, wants to play a board wipe, I've got an excellent follow-up with Master of Waves with all the Devotion. I'm not particularly concerned about protecting these 2 creatures with Kira. They're sort of throwaway creatures. They've already done, they've already gotten value. We drew a card, we bounced Grimflayer, so Shambling Vent is super slow. The opponent goes with Scavenging Ooze here, using one of these blue lands for the colorless part of his cost, or the generic part, leaving up white potentially for Path. So he's only got 1 green mana, so Scavenging Ooze's ability is not going to be super relevant. So no Island Walk as of yet. Play Cavern of Souls, name Merfolk. I think I'm going to play out Reejerey and then cast Cursecatcher to tap down the Scavenging Ooze. No Island Walk, but we've sort of got Virtual Island Walk with Reejerey's tap ability. Might seem weird not playing out these heavier creatures, but we're doing great with these smaller guys, and we can rebuild after a board wipe like beautifully. We're actually really close to having mana to play out Kira and Master of Waves in 1 turn. So here's the Cursecatcher, going to tap down the Scavenging Ooze. The opponent is now going to path the Reejerey. He didn't have priority until that moment. So we do now have enough mana to play out Kira and Master of Waves in 1 turn. We've got 7 lands. Okay, so Scavenging Ooze is going to get tapped. We get to activate Mutavault and swing for 6, representing an easy 2-turn clock. Opponent has a Plains, 3 cards in hand. We know one of them, let's see, is the Grimflayer. Chooses to go with Liliana here. It's going to make me sack something, but we've got options, and Cursecatcher's easy enough. Leaving up 1 green for Scavenging Ooze puts him effectively at 6 life. Sack the Cursecatcher, he can go ahead and gobble that guy up. And he does. Choosing not to attack, pretty smart. But I drew an Island Walk Lord, so the opponent's got some mana up, 2 cards in hand. He could have like a Slaughter Pact or something, so be on the safe side. Run out Kira now. If he wants to use his Slaughter Pact on one of these 2 creatures, we're still going to have 3 and 3 for Lethal Island Walk. So getting Kira out first. He can't have Abrupt Decay because he doesn't have the colors for it. So now here's the Island Walk Lord. We can activate Mutavault for Overkill. And we'll swing for 9 with Island Walk. So patient play against Abzan. He had decent cards. We know one of the 2 cards in his hand is Grimflayer. Had a Liliana, Scavenging Ooze, but you know, one of these lands is from his Path to Exile. We drew a lot of lands, but we also drew some really solid creatures. Let's see, who's exiled here? We had another Reejerey, we had a Lord of Atlantis, Cursecatcher, but the Relic exiled all that stuff. Relic did a lot of work this game. The opponent got suckered into that terrible block with Tarmogoyf. Oh, that's cool, actually. It shows his power and toughness in the graveyard even. See, he's a 2-3. So that was the match. Couldn't do anything about that. Obviously, we're not going to get distracted and attack this Liliana since we have lethal right now. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this match, what you think about playing against Abzan in general, and I'll catch you guys in the next round. Thanks a lot. Bye.